And so Jesus is saying, hey, I want you to read my word. I want the words to be in you. I want you to meditate on them. And if my words are in you, then he said something's going to change in you. And I want you to see this because at face value, you can take this verse out of context. A lot of people have. I want you to see what it says the rest of verse 7. He says, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, you shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. So for centuries, people have been taking this verse and just saying, ho, see there? Name it and claim it. Gab it and grab it. Like, just say it, and then it's going to happen, you know? And one of the most popular words of the last 4 years in LA County is manifestation. Pastor, I'm speaking it into existence. Okay. Well, just let's pause that for a second, and let's look at James 1, because it says, let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea. You say, well, exactly. You got to have full faith, but then it'll happen. It's going to happen. You pray it, and it's going to happen. Then he says, for let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. Oh, hold on. Jesus said, you name it, you get it. How come James, the first century pastor of the Church of Jerusalem, 1 million members, says, no. Not going to receive everything from the Lord. Well, what is right? The reality is, what Jesus is saying is not you asking everything like it's a blank check. How many of you remember that movie, Blank Check? Little kid gets hit on the bike, and the convict writes him a check just to get away from the police, and he writes him this blank check, and the kid thinks, oh, this is my chance, and he writes as many zeros that could fit on the check. I don't know if you've ever watched the movie. It came out in the 90s. And so he goes in the bank. This is the iconic scene. He goes in the bank and he gives the guy the $1 million check, and the guy's like, okay, well, I guess, and there was some misunderstanding. So the owner or the manager of the bank opens up more money than this kid's ever seen. And the whole premise of this movie is he puts $1 million in his backpack, which probably wouldn't fit, just saying. But then this kid goes out and he buys everything he could possibly imagine. He buys houses and candy and toys, and he basically buys anything that he would ever want. And there's this cosmic vending machine view of Jesus that basically says that prayer is this blank check for receiving. But I want to say that prayer is more than that. Prayer is not just about receiving. It's about abiding. I want you to see the word ask. The word ask here is the word to inquire or to call, but it means to make an appeal or to pray. And Jesus said, he said in verse 7, that you will ask what you will. The key word here is will. And the key word will ties back to the word. The word is what you're abiding in. And as the word is in you, your will is different. It's the same thing that by the way, the word will here is the word for determining or desiring to have something that pleases you or something that is that you want on purpose. I think it's important for you to understand exactly what Paul was saying to the church at Philippi in Philippians 2:13. He says it is God that works in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. And so all of us need to take what Jesus is saying and put it into context to say that our desire has to be aligned and transformed by God's desire, by his will. And time spent in God's word and prayer changes our perspective, and it changes our desire to reflect what God says, what God desires. And so we see this, and Jesus, this would have popped right off the page in Aramaic and Greek and Hebrew. And it's not like he's speaking in code, but he's speaking almost in rhyme. He's saying, listen, in verse 7, it shall be done. And then he says, you shall be disciples. And he's using the same word, genomai, but he's tying these two concepts together. I want you to see this. He says, this, whatever you ask in my will be done, if it's my will. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit, that you shall be my disciples. Ginomai, ginomai. He's saying the same thing that he says, that thy kingdom come, thy will be done in the Lord's Prayer, in heaven as on earth. He's talking about alignment of desires. God's desires become your desires. God's ways become your ways. And so when he says, you shall be the ginomai, this is talking about it shall be formed in you. This is going to take place on the inside of you. You're going to become this. You'll become a disciple. You will bear this fruit.